Alright guys, today I'm going to do a review of the George Benson amp. First thing I just want to point out, my George Benson has been slightly modded. No significant changes, just two things. I always put different colored knobs on my volume control. So the two volumes, the master control, which controls the distortion, and the volume control, I put two different knobs so when I'm playing I can reach down and easily grab the two volumes. The other thing I did is I put a blue LED. So I always take the bulbs out now and I put the LEDs in. So they just seem to look a little better and they last a lot longer. Alright guys, here's a review. Okay, so in this review we're going to talk about the George Benson amp. I'm using my American Custom Shop Fender Strat with lace sensor pickups. And I'm going to stay predominantly on the neck pickup. So let's go over real quickly the 4 changes to the Hot Rod Deluxe that they made for George Benson. First is it has a pine cabinet. The pine cabinet reduces weight and it makes the amp sound a little warmer and softer sounding. The 12AT7 was added to the V1 spot. What does that mean? They took a $10 tube out and they put another $10 tube out. And what the $10 tube is doing is it is basically reducing some of the distortion and the fuzz, and it's also decreasing the amount of power the amp puts out. The amp loses about 20% of its volume, but it loses it in the best spot. Where normally on a hot rod, when you turn it from volume 0 to 2, 2 is where it really kicks in and starts getting loud. Okay? On this amp, you have to get to 4 or 5 to get the same volume as 2, but now you have this nice range where the amp just kind of slowly brings itself up. So that means you can operate the amp a little quieter with still getting the punch out of it, which is great for smaller gigs and recording. The last two things are there's a Italian-made Benson speaker that's a 100-watt speaker. So again, a 100-watt speaker with a 40-watt tube amp means that the speaker takes a lot of power to break up, and the amp doesn't really facilitate that kind of power. And then, of course, they put a cool new finish on it. It's just it looks like a case finish from the 60s or 70s. I actually have a guitar case from Fender that looks exactly like this finish, so it's really cool. So what I'm going to do is go over a couple things. I'm going to use only the neck pickup for all 3 demonstrations, and I'll go through the 3 basically sounds the amp makes. The first one is the clean. You'll notice right away when I'm plugging in 2 things over the Hot Rod Deluxe. It is softer sounding. It's not as bright. Now you can add the bright switch, but if you notice on the Hot Rod Deluxe, you almost never do that. On this amp, when you hit the bright switch, it actually sounds beautiful, right? It's just, the amp sounds warm and then you get some chime. Obviously, a lot of you guys that have Hot Rod Deluxes know right now that if you were to do it on your Hot Rod Deluxe, it would sound like broken glass. So that's a nice feature that they didn't add to the amp, but now is useful to this particular amp. So it has a warmer sound. It also has more sustain. I don't know if that's the tube, the cabinet, or the speaker, or just the combination of all 3. But it definitely has a sustainful feel to it. So that's a big difference. I'm going to go to the distortion. Again, I'm going to stay on the neck pickup. Okay? And if you notice now, oh, sorry, I'm in the boost mode. So we'll start without the boost mode first. Okay? So here's the overdrive mode. Boost mode. So this is your boost. Again, we'll add more sustain, a little bit more fuzz. I actually enjoy the amp if I turn the gain about to 8, right? It just has a smooth kind of, right? I just, it's almost like the best blues amp I've heard in a long time. What's nice then is if you do it my way, when you push that overdrive, the extra boost, it just bites in better. So I really think that the gain threshold is set best if you only go about 3/4 of the way and not full throttle. The amp's basically $100 more than a Hot Rod Deluxe. If you have a Hot Rod Deluxe already, the good news is this: you can pretty much achieve this sound with just the 2 big fixes, which is put a Benson 100-watt speaker in your cabinet and also put the 12AT7. You still won't get exactly the warmness because your birch cabinet's a little brighter, and unfortunately the speaker's a little heavier, so without the reduced weight of the pine cabinet, your amp's going to go up about a pound or 2, maybe, right? So, but again, or to be honest with you, if you just want to start with a $10 thing, just put the $10 12AT7 in the V1 spot. You can find that on the online, but online to find out where it is. Or to be honest with you, if you look in the back, it's the furthest preamp tube to your right if you're facing the amp. So it's a very easy thing. It's the farthest one away from the power tubes. So there, I hope that helps. So basically, that's the George Benson amp. The other thing too to point out is this is one of my favorite amps, and the reason I decided to do a review on it was when I was looking in our store's sales, we sold quite a bit of these in the last year. In fact, I'm shocked. We've sold almost as many of these in the last year as we sold Hot Rod Deluxes in the last 5 years. So obviously the customers are taking to the new Benson. It has a more improved cover. The cover's thicker on it, so it's just nice value. Basically, for $100 more, it's silly. I mean, to be honest with you, today, after this data and this review, we are not going to even carry the Hot Rod Deluxe anymore. We're just going to carry the Bensons and then try to reduce this $50 or something like that, and make a better deal for you. All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Know your gear.